Hello. On Earth Day, let us look at the theme, the planet and plastics. Ever dreamt that an old footwear of yours could end up inside a whale? Or that some casually discarded plastic covers could end up in the gut of an elephant and kill it? Imagine the state of plastics in the environment if 25 pieces of it could be found inside a fulmar, an Arctic seabird which hardly weighs a kilogram. All that is fact. A sperm whale that had washed up at one of Indonesia's national park in 2018 had 115 cups, 25 bags, 4 bottles and 2 slippers in its stomach. More than 1,000 pieces of plastic weighing 6 kilograms were counted in the stomach of the whale. Research in North India's forests showed that plastic comprises 85% of the waste found in elephant dung, the bulk of which came from food containers and cutlery, followed by plastic bags and packaging. In the southern part of the country, a post-mortem on a dead elephant found near a temple shrine showed that it had died from ingesting around 2 kilograms of plastic, with one big piece blocking her alimentary canal and causing internal bleeding and finally organ failure. Wild animals get habituated to food in plastic containers, discarded carelessly by humans. And these animals actually go rummaging garbage dumps, like it was seen last year when the tusker Padayappa had to be chased away from a burning dump in Idukki district. In 2017, more than 8 million tons of plastic entered the ocean. Plastic has indeed conquered the planet from the Arctic to Antarctic, from Mount Everest to the Mariana Trench. Unlike natural resources, all of us know that plastic is not biodegradable. However, it does break down into smaller pieces due to weathering, erosion, etc. These are the micro and smaller particles, nanoparticles, that get carried by wind and air and water to places much far from the source. Plastic is everywhere. It is there in the soil, it is there in the water and air, inside many species, including us humans. Yes, while none of us may chew a plastic cover or swallow a slipper, plastic enters our body through food, water and air as microparticles and sometimes even more smaller nanoparticles. Toxic effects of microplastics include neurodisorders, immune responses, metabolic disorders and so on, which has been shown by research done on models like cells, organoids and animals, not yet on humans. Our lives today are so intricately wrapped in plastic that it seems impossible to get out of it, right? From water bottles to take-out food to personal care products and road journeys, plastic rears its head everywhere. With every plastic PET bottle we use, like this, we could be drinking in 240,000 microparticles per liter, says a study. 3 of the US brands of bottles studied revealed that as many as 90% of the plastic particles found were nanoparticles and only 10% were microplastics. That is quite alarming because at the nano scale of things, these particles can enter the cells and we do not know how they react once inside the cells. It is estimated that people who order takeout food 4 to 7 times in a week may intake 12 to 203 pieces of microplastics through these containers. Research demonstrates that the degrading of silicone rubber teats when sterilized could expose babies to 0.66 million microplastic particles during a year of bottle feed. Well, not all that goes in comes out as waste. Research has detected the existence of microplastics in human blood. Microplastics have been found in spleen, liver, colon, lung, feces, placenta, and even breast milk. Initial studies that have been done on zebra fish and some other specimens have shown that ultrafine microplastic absorption has resulted in complex toxicity, whereas even more smaller microplastics can reach almost any organ once it enters the body. Talking of microplastics, did you know that tire wear and laundry wastewater are major sources? Yes, check that out, especially you roadies. And yes, more the speed, more is the production of microparticles. Adding to all that, farmers across the globe are now have been using for some time plastic films for mulching, wherein the sheet helps retain water in the soil and prevents weed growth. Sadly, once a crop is harvested, these sheets are collected and piled up on the roadside, where they are broken down into microplastics and finally mixed with the soil or water. And that is one of the latest route that plastic has taken to get into the food chain. Despite all this bad news, where do we stand today with respect to plastics? Besides a speech or two on Earth Day or the more popular Environment Day, it's business as usual. Since the large-scale introduction of plastics after Second World War, a total of 8.3 billion tons have been produced. Of this amount, 6.3 billion tons have become waste as of 2015. 6.3 out of 8.3 has turned waste. Only 9% of this waste is recycled and 12% is burned. The remaining 79% ends up in landfills or the environment. Going by this trend, we will have 12 billion tons of plastic in landfills and environment by 2050. Plastic production is predicted to increase by 40% in the next 10 years. If we do not do anything about it, our oceans for sure will have more plastic than fish, according to UN prediction. On a recent trip to the remote parts of Nagaland, what I noticed was a stark contrast in the lifestyle. While homes are still thatched and often water has to be fetched from streams, pipelines are in the process of being set up in some places. Transport is very minimal, as also healthcare. The one thing that was on par with the rest of the nation was mobile network and the presence of packaged food of the Kurkure and Parle-G kinds. In quaint little wooden booths that stand in for village shops, you can find a string of tiny plastic sachets carrying things like shampoos and tea packets, etc. The content inside is minimal and sometimes almost nil. To be adequate, one needs to buy more than one of these sachets. To slit open these and throw out the veg, squeeze out whatever little is there inside, can you imagine any possible collection of the same for recycling? Marketing strategies by the multinationals have resulted in millions such plastic sachets at nominal prices being dumped in rural countrysides. Just take a trip and you can see it. While Nagaland is conscious of its waste and burns the plastic, which is also bad, in most other parts of the country you can see these torn sachets lying all around in the mud and water. In India, any plastic packaging that cannot be recycled or used as an alternate source of energy will be phased out, says a clause under Plastic Waste Management Amendment Rules 2022. So, anything that cannot be recycled or used as alternate source of energy. Ideally, that should stand for these sachets, which practically defy recycling with low utility and high littering potential. And that high littering and low utility is the definition used for the banned single-use plastics. Yet, under the Act, why is there no reference to the sachets? The only reference to them is in a line saying, sachets will not sell gutkhas, pan masala or tobacco. Everything else is fine. The sachets invite only a 30 to 60% obligation for recycling and a 70% extended responsibility from the producer, importer and brand owner. In yet another marketing gimmick, you may have seen vegetables and fruits that come wrapped in thin plastic sheets to make them seem hygienic, right? A total waste. One of the ways to discourage such wasteful packaging would be to impose a tax like the UK did in 2022. The tax of almost £200 per ton will be slapped on manufacturers and importers for specific products containing less than 30% recycled plastic. Single-use plastic of thickness below 75 microns have been banned in India since July 2022. But most of us know the truth, right? We still lack effective collection and recycling, not to mention monitoring, which is almost lacking, totally lacking. What then can we do? Why not adopt a tried and tested method of passive resistance? Refuse to buy or use these tiny sachets of sauce, pickles, mint, etc. And now you also have these wet napkins and sanitizers coming in small sachets like this. Go to any wedding or function and the sight of all those water bottles scattered around should remind you of elephants and whales feeding on them. Stop buying or using them. Carry your own steel bottle everywhere and avoid drinking in the microplastics. Make a statement with your steel bottle. Tell the people of the 240,000 particles they are of microplastic that they are going to drink with 1 liter of water from the plastic bottle. At least a handful will get converted. Also, a spare glass is always handy. Buy a tender coconut rather than buying the Tetra Pak version, even if it means taking a walk rather than ordering it on Instamart. Walking is good for health. Bring down the demand for packaged food. Besides the plastic, the ingredients you can be sure is not good for your health. Let us leave a healthy environment on earth for coming generations and all other species. That should be the best way to honor earth on this Earth Day. Thank you.